All right, it is the road to release as we get ready for release day for Out of the Park 25. And joining us right now from OOTP Development is Rich Grisham. Rich, thank you for hanging out with us. Everybody wants to hear all they can about Out of the Park 25, all the great things that are coming this year to a quarter century of this franchise. I tell you what, we talked about it off camera before we went on. How kind of this is a community thing. It's not just a development team. It's not one person. It truly is a team and really a two-way street when you think about it.
It's really more like a 10-way street, even though that's not a thing. One of the reasons that I so many years ago joined Out of the Park Developments was because of the game Out of the Park Baseball, because it was clearly seen by people who knew as the best of its kind in the market. And there are not a lot of opportunities that you get in your life to be part of an organization that produces the best of anything, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's the best baseball strategy video game on PC, whether it's the best pickup truck, whether it's the best beer, whether it is, the best brand of vitamin, whatever it is, when you have an opportunity to be part of something, of an organization that, produces the best version of anything, I view that as a pretty unique and amazing opportunity. So that's why I wanted to join Out of the Park Developments in the first place, way back in the days when it was an independent company. It had just gotten the rights to the Major League Baseball. It had just gotten the rights to the Major League Baseball Players Association. But what I discovered immediately upon joining the company was the amazing community surrounding the game. And that community takes different forms. And obviously, in 2015, um, it looked a certain way. And in 2024, it looks a different way. There's a lot more ways for people to participate in the community. But at the end of the day, the thing that has remained consistent is that it is the best community that I've ever experienced in video games. And I've been a part of a whole bunch of them in different ways. And I say that all the time, but I say it for a reason because it's true. The Every video game that has a community has passionate users and things like that. But what has struck me right from the beginning is not just the passion, but the depth of knowledge that community members have for the video game Out of the Park Baseball and for the sport of baseball. And also how much so many of them care about the game. So many people in the community really feel like they are a one word, two words, a
Mhm.
part of Out of the Park Baseball. And that's because they are. If you go onto the forums today, just like you could 10 years ago and 20 years ago, you can talk to Marcus, you can talk to Matt, you can talk to Will, you can talk to Lucas, you can talk to Nicolino, you can talk to Paul. You can talk to the guys. There's not a lot of, organizations that have that kind of, communication open, to people. And if you go on the Discord, you can chat with Nicolino, you can chat with Paul. Occasionally, you can chat with me when I find, the time to be able to get in there, which is pretty hard sometimes. Um, but it just struck me the incredible knowledge that the fans have for the game, the incredible passion they have for the game, and how much they care and how much they want Out of the Park to succeed. And that remains constant. Like the community in Out of the Park Baseball remains incredibly critical to the success of Out of the Park Baseball. It is no exaggeration to say that the community is the reason it exists. And obviously, right? Like people have to buy the game. the people in the community are the ones who buy the game. Obviously, if they buy the game, then that contributes to it. But I'm even talking at a higher level, right? Like the game itself is a reflection of the community. You don't make it 25 years of games that Marcus has done without truly personalizing things that you hear about from the community, things that they want, things that they would like, things that they don't like. And what's also then sort of built upon that, especially in the last few years, like anyone who's paying attention to the world of technology and to the world of video games knows how challenging the environment can be at times, right? There's boom times, there's bust times, there's roller coasters. It's always been that way in video games. But in particular, the last couple of years have been particularly difficult because video games have become much, much more expensive to produce. And they are competing with, so many different other things, not just other video games, right? But, video games compete with television and movies and music and spending time with your family and going out to eat, right? Like people have, an nearly infinite amount of choices of how they can spend their time and their money. And, we do not, no one at Out of the Park Developments takes it for granted that we get to make this game for the 25th time. And I have never been more grateful than today as I speak to you to be able to be a small part of making this video game come to life and shipping it on March 15th to people around the world. We are so thankful and so grateful to everyone in the community. And I don't just mean the people on the forums. I don't mean just the people on the Discord, of which are hugely important to us. But I also mean people like you, right? People like, Laptop, people like EVC. And there's so many of our streamer affiliates, for example, who provide an incredible service to the community playing the game. Because I don't know if you've noticed, Dr. D, but Out of the Park Baseball, it's a little dense. There's a little there's a little bit going on in the game.
I happen to notice
And
that.
and the ability for people like you and our other streamer affiliates to just have fun conversations with people and go play different parts of the game and get feedback and have guests and talk about it. Like I am so tremendously grateful for that. Because that is a huge extension of the community. And that is really critical too. And so sort of in a very long-winded way of going back to your first comment, it's not a two-way street, it's a 10-way street, right? There's our streamer affiliates, and we want to make sure that you guys have everything you possibly can to do the best job that you can for your viewers. And we have, the community in the forums, and we have the communities in our Discord, and we have the people that follow us on Facebook, and we have the people who follow us on Twitter, and we have the people who follow us on Instagram, and the people who communicate about us on Reddit, right? There are so many different spokes to this community wheel that I'm just so grateful for because we don't take it for granted. It has never been in my 10 years in this business. It's never been harder to be successful making a video game than it is right now. And the fact that we're making the 25th anniversary edition of Out of the Park Baseball and we're shipping it in a couple of weeks, the only reason that happens is because of the community. And so I'm just really grateful and humbled, and we just want it to be the best possible version of the game ever made. We want everyone to love it, and we want everyone to just spend all of their time, quit your jobs, quit your families, just play Out of the Park Baseball 22 hours a day, sleep for 4 hours, and then come right back. Sleep for 2 hours and then come right back. No. I'm really grateful, and I cannot express that gratitude enough. I've been blessed to be able to be a very small part of the world of baseball and baseball video games. And man, I just want to keep on doing this for as long as I possibly can. And the only reason that I'm here right now and we're making this game and shipping it next week is because of the community. And so we're just very grateful and very blessed, and we want to absolutely positively deliver the best possible game that we can.
Yeah. Well said. And I know for all of the community, whether it's people watching right now, people who stream the game, that we've always felt heard and valued. And I tell you what, anytime anybody asks for anything, you may not get what you want, but you're going to get an answer. And more often than not, this team steps up to the plate. So thank you on behalf of the streamers, the affiliate streamers, everybody who consumes this game, however they do. Perfect team, franchise mode, PT Live, you name it, continuing to deliver. And it is really fan service, everything this team does, because you guys continue to deliver. Let's talk about, you alluded to the partnership between the community and Out of the Park Developments. Let's talk about this new partnership that we've been hearing a lot about. We want to know what this means for Out of the Park 25. We're talking about the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say this is a real dream come true. I mean, when you take a step back and you think about it, what is a more natural partnership than a game like Out of the Park Baseball, which has the entire history of baseball in it, and the National Baseball Hall of Fame, which celebrates the history of baseball? This is something that I have been hoping for and working towards for a long time. And I am, again, I'm going to keep using the word, but I use it for a reason. I'm grateful that Out of the Park Baseball 25, the 25th anniversary version of Out of the Park Baseball, is the first game in which we get to bring this partnership to life. And it's a new partnership. And I've gotten to know a few of the people at the National Baseball Hall of Fame pretty well. They are incredibly supportive, like incredibly supportive. They're wonderful people to work with. And the last thing that we being the Out of the Park baseball team, wanted to do was try to shove a whole bunch of stuff into the game right away related to our partnership with the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Um, we're a very small development team, less than 10 people. And I think technically like 4 people who actually write code, which is a whole separate conversation in and
Sure.
of itself. It's a miracle, that we make this game. But what what I'm really what I'm really happy with is a number of things. The first thing is that we are going to take a measured approach to what we do with the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And by that I mean we're going to our goal is to, well, number one, our goal is to make our fans delighted, right? And to do something different. So what we're planning on doing is over the course of the season, we'll probably start this off, a few weeks into the season. We're going to basically have an area within Out of the Park Baseball where you'll be able to look at various National Baseball Hall of Fame stuff, right? Could be some plaques, could be some artifacts. Um, our plan is to sort of build upon them. I don't want to use the term, although I'm going to, so I guess I do want to use it. Using the term exhibit is not really what I'm talking about, but sort of like that, in that every few weeks, optimally, we almost have a new exhibit open up in the game that has National Baseball Hall of Fame stuff in it. Like I said, could be some plaque, could be some artifacts. Exactly how it's going to look and exactly how it's going to be scheduled depends on a lot of things that have not yet been finalized yet. Now, with all of the partnerships that I try to bring together, I look for long-term partnerships as much as possible, because long-term partnerships generally work out really well, because if everyone is committed for multiple years, it just makes it easier to do things. And so we're really gonna structure this in a way that delivers something interesting and different than anyone can experience anywhere else, but it's not going to be, here's the virtual baseball Hall of Fame, for a lot of reasons. Number one, I don't know that anybody really wants an entire virtual baseball Hall of Fame. That's what makes the real baseball Hall of Fame so awesome. But we are going to have a special area of the game where we're going to introduce on a regular basis cool new stuff from the Baseball Hall of Fame that people like you and me will look at and go, "Oh, wow, that's really cool. I like that." That's that's the first part of our partnership with the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I'll stop there because you probably have a couple of follow-ups to that before I keep on going.
Yeah, it sounds to me, Rich, that it's going to be an extension of the Hall of Fame, not a replication of it, right? So, with that said,
Yes.
is it something that you feel like you have a general idea what this is going to look like and it's going to grow organically, or do you really have a hard and firm kind of path on how you want this to look when it's rolled out?
No, it's general because for some practical reasons, right? Like we have a very small development team who already has a huge list of stuff to do, right? So unless we were to completely just say, well, we don't want to have any improvements to the game, and based on your conversations with Marcus and Matt and Will, I don't think that concept would get very far, right? Um, and we also, we had, again, this is the very beginning, right? So there's just a lot of communication that we have to have, and we have to understand what are sort of the options. So really, it's the plan is to have an entry point in the game to the Hall of Fame section of our game, and we'll display interesting information again, like plaques, some artifacts, and we're going to figure it out as we go. We have high level ideas, right? Like we got a plan and things like that. But when you're talking about a game like Out of the Park Baseball, where we have the ability to deliver things over the course of an entire season, that gives us really some ability to sort of take a step back, right? Like if this were 15 years ago, we'd have to basically build out the entire thing, shove it in the game, and then that's that. In this case, we're really looking at how do we collectively pool what the National Baseball Hall of Fame offers and what Out of the Park Baseball can deliver and put something really fun and cool and interesting together for the fans, right? And
Yeah.
that's there's a high level plan, but as anyone who's worked in software development knows that high level plans tend to go, tend to change on a regular basis. So we have some cool thoughts, some cool ideas, and we're working with the great people from the Baseball Hall of Fame to make them happen. But at the end of the day, there's really three things that we want it to be. Number one, we want it to be fun. Number two, we want it to be unique, and number three, we want it to be interesting. And we think we can make all three of those things happen in terms of Out of the Park Baseball and our partnership with the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And that's sort of the base game aspect of the partnership. On the Perfect Team side, we have some cool ideas that we're going to be implementing over the course of the season as well. And just like what you're going to get, a couple weeks after the game launches, when we introduce the Baseball Hall of Fame section in the base game, we'll also have some really cool stuff happening in Perfect Team related to the Baseball Hall of Fame as well. And exactly what that is, I'm not totally sure. I know that the content team has a much more of a clear idea on that, but I don't want to spoil any of the stuff that they're working on as well. But so it's a couple of really cool different paths that we get to go down together with the Baseball Hall of Fame and with our fans. And I mentioned the community earlier. I guarantee you, once we open up the Baseball Hall of Fame section in the main game, a couple 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully no later than that after launch, we're going to get a ton of feedback, right? So one way that that a plan can change is, oh, well, somebody, we get feedback and say, oh, could you do this and this? And some things will be like, well, we can't really do that, but that's a good idea. Maybe we can do that. So it will be organic, not only between ourselves and our friends at the National Baseball Hall of Fame, but also, again, just like everything, the community will certainly um, have a lot to say about what that looks like over the course of a full year.
Oh, yeah. It's exciting, and it's hard too because
Very exciting.
we can't wrap our arms around this right now. We don't have anything necessarily we can share with people specifically, but I don't think it would be overstating by saying that it seems like this is going to be sprinkled across out of the park baseball, which is a very, when you think about it, depending on how you play it, in some way, shape, or form, eventually there is an historic aspect to it. So to really be able to hold on to that and have an official partnership, not a wink, wink, nudge kind of like it's kind of like it, but it is actually the real thing. And it sounds like when you're playing the game, when you're interacting with the game, it's just going to feel authentic like it is the actual Baseball Hall of Fame because it is the Hall of Fame.
That's the goal. And one of the other, interesting wrinkles to it is right when you're playing franchise mode, um, that's your own universe. Like the instant you press play on a brand new season, whether it's the 2024 season or you go back in time, the minute you press that button, you're creating a completely new baseball universe. So we also have to understand, like, okay, we are official partners with the National Baseball Hall of Fame. We need to represent the National Baseball Hall of Fame authentically. So we can't really do that in a season because the minute you make a decision that didn't actually happen in the real world, that season is now a fantasy season, which by the way is an amazing thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's another reason that we're really okay. What we want to do really is we want to have a part of the game where you can almost see the Hall of Fame stuff we have in it, separate from any of your offline seasons or things like that,
Okay.
because it's got to be authentic. So that's why as we had more conversations, I realized like, okay, no, this makes a lot more sense to have. Okay, I'm going to go to the Hall of Fame section in Out of the Park Baseball because I see, oh, there's the new thing in here. Let me go check it out. So that keeps it real in terms of this is really a representation of the National Baseball Hall of Fame, as opposed to, if you start a season in 1975 and you play it out for 15 years, whatever the Hall of Fame would have looked like in that is completely different than the real one. So how do you balance that too? There's a lot of nuance that at the top when I'm like, hey, National Baseball Hall of Fame, woo, this is great. Then you get into the details and you're like, oh wait, this is more complicated than I thought. But that's part of making video games, right? And I say this, and it's funny. I tell my son all the time. I say, don't say things out loud that you don't know are true. And I always tell him the story, 15, 20 years ago when I was, in a different part of my career, I would tell myself all the time, man, I could never work in sales. Sales, no, these people speak a different language than me, dress really nicely. They're always out on the road traveling, but like commission, do I get it? Do I not? Like I couldn't live, without knowing here's my salary, I get my salary, I get my salary. I convinced myself of this for 10, 15 years. And then one day I started working with people in sales and then worked in sales in enterprise sales for software. And I realized this is amazing. This is so good. Like you have wins, right? You win and you lose. And if you do a really great job, you'll actually earn more income. And you really, in enterprise sales, right? You have to collaborate with the CEOs and the presidents and the COOs and really high level smart people. And you're not just sort of, as one of my bosses used to say, you're not screwing in software, right? At the tactical level, you're really in really awesome conversations that I learned a lot from and became much better at my career for being in sales. And I told my son all the time, I probably cost myself 10 great years of a career doing something different because I convinced myself that I'm not in sales and I don't want to be in sales. Turned out to be something I said out loud that was completely wrong, and I convinced myself. Luckily, a couple of people sort of dragged me in. I realized how it's awesome. The reason I say that is because I'm now going to violate my own rule, but I'm going to speak it out loud. I'm not a game designer. I'm I'm I know if a game is good when I play it. I know if a mode is good when I play it, and I can certainly offer opinions on things. But game design is a skill and it is a gift. And I look at Marcus, and like Marcus is a brilliant game designer. He knows how to design a game, he knows how to find the fun. And so I'm really excited that Marcus and the guys on the team who are game designers really are the ones who sort of are coming up with how to make this happen. Because I have a hard time in terms of game design, but I really do love bringing new partnerships to the table and trying to make different and interesting things happen. But finding the fun is a real skill and a real challenge, and that's something that I'm glad we have other people on the team that can do that and are really good at doing that.
Well, let's find the fun within the game. That there are so many different ways to enjoy out of the park baseball. I mean, just you mentioned it before, this the partnership being, between you and the community being a 10-way street. And I would argue too, there's all these different tendrils and things coming out of the park that you can it is the infinite baseball sandbox. You can enjoy it any way you like. And you guys are so good at kind of finding things where you turn it into something even more. And there's something I'm pretty excited about that has been talked about a little bit behind the scenes, and we want to share it with everybody today, at least a little bit, Rich, when it comes out. The drive for the pennant mode. What is this?
Yes. So this is, again, I'm going to ramble a little bit. I always try to be very clear and concise, but on the other hand, sometimes I'm just really excited about stuff and I just go. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed that. So
on your mark, get set, go. You got it.
So again, we talked about this earlier. Excuse me. Out of the Park Baseball is a wonderful game. It's also very dense. There is a lot going on. And one of the common refrains I hear from people that are new to the game is that it's overwhelming. It's just a lot. And it can be hard to know where to start. Now, what's nice things that have happened in the last few years, I think Perfect Team has accidentally become an entry into the bigger out of the park baseball, because when you're playing Perfect Team, it's still a lot of interesting baseball management in terms of setting your lineups and in terms of your rotations and your strategies and how to build a team and all of that, and obviously the competition. And so a bunch of people have told me that they actually, were able to get into out of the park baseball because of Perfect Team. What Perfect Team doesn't have is a lot of the stuff in the base game, which a lot of other people love, like, free agency and scouting and finances and player development and coaching staffs and all of those things, and managing not just a major league team, but your AAA, your AA, your multiple single A's, your rookie league, right? Like there's a whole lot more going on in the base game than there is in Perfect Team. So Perfect Team served as a nice sort of a gateway to the bigger base game. And another thing that we did a few years ago, we introduced these tutorials where in game, where all of your fans are, right? Like we've always tried to make lots of videos and podcasts and focus on here's how to do this and here's how to do that. But you have to go find that stuff. So one of the other things that we did, we wanted to put it in game, because 100% of the people who play the game are in the game. Maybe 30% will look on YouTube and 40% will look on Twitch, and 19% will look in the forums and 18% will look in Discord, but 100% of the people are in the game. So if you put something in the game, that's your best way to reach the most people playing the game. And we put the tutorials in, which I was asked for many years, and a lot of people have said, good job. My sort of my white whale with out of the park baseball has been, how do we make the greatest hits of being a general manager of a major league baseball team? How do we make it easier for fans to try out of the park baseball without having to go to every single tab and understand, okay, well, here's how my finances are. Do I want to invest a little more in this or that? Or here's my international scouting. How do I want to set this up? Here's my, free agents. Here's all of these guys. Here's my Rule 5 stuff. Like there's just, again, there's a lot going on. And that's why so many people love the game, because it has all of that stuff in it. So my goal for years has been, and I've been talking with the development team about this for a long time, and no one has ever argued against it, right? It's not like they're like, no, we don't want to do this. My goal has been, how do we get the greatest hits? How could I, in a few hours, have a really guided process, but not a tutorial, but just sort of a guided game for a season where I get to sort of ride that roller coaster of the ups and the downs and the key moments without having to necessarily set all of the buttons and the levers and strings the way that I want them to, or even worse, not be aware of important things and have them go awry. So Drive for the Pennant really is about, the goal is to, over the course of a relatively short amount of time, exactly how long, who knows, 4 hours, 8 hours, 20 hours, 3 hours, who knows. How do we put you on that roller coaster ride? How do we insert you into important moments, whether it's an important moment in a game where, all right, there's 2 outs in the sixth inning, there's guys on first and second, your starter is running on fumes, but he might be able to get another out. Just jump into this spot and, you know, make your call, do what you want, manage the rest of the game. Or maybe a guy's throwing a no hitter and you have the option to influence that one way or the other. Or, maybe it's the second game of a doubleheader and everybody is gassed and you got to come up with a way to somehow try to get an important win because you're only 3 games out of playoff, competition. Maybe there's a big trade or a moment that comes up, or maybe there's a guy in AAA who's really ready to come up and usurp your incumbent. So the goal for Drive for the Pennant is to, how can we introduce a roller coaster on rails baseball experience where behind the scenes, out of the park, AI is taking care of most of the stuff, but you're inserted into fun moments during the course of a season and you get to make the call and you get to pick it. And then once you're done, then you go until the next moment comes. And some people will accurately say something to the effect of, well, I can do that now. I just got to set, the do not disturb on until this stuff comes up. And to that, I say, you're absolutely right. However, we also know that there's a whole bunch of people who will try this game or who have tried it in the past and will try it again this year, who would be interested in being exposed to different stuff, but not having to worry about all of that other stuff going on behind the scenes. My ultimate vision for Drive for the Pennant is really just one great moment after another where you're okay, this is the last thing I'm going to do tonight, then I'm going to go to bed. And then you do it, and then you're like, okay, no, this is the last thing because this is really cool. This is the last thing I'm going to do if we're going to. We want you to experience
one more turn.
One more turn. And we want to hit all the different parts of the game. Because if it's just one kind of thing over and over again, okay, that's fun. But we also want to introduce, like, slowly but surely, all of the parts of the game. Now, I'm making this sound like this was all my big idea, my concept. Not the case. Everyone, obviously, on the team has been a big part of making this happen. And similar to the Hall of Fame, the Drive for the Pennant will come out probably a few weeks into the season after release. Because I don't know if you're aware, probably not, but this is the earliest that Out of the Park Baseball is ever coming out. Coming out on March 15th. Typically, we've released a week or two later into the season. So we're releasing earlier than we ever have. And we want to make sure that this mode is at the start, works, because again, there's a lot that we have to there's a lot of stuff that we got to do to make it work behind the scenes so that it's an easy, fun way for the players to play the game. So there's still a lot of work that we have to do. And then once we do release it, we're going to get a ton of feedback from the community on what they like, what they want changed, and some ideas that we probably know about and weren't able to make happen, some ideas we might not have thought about. So again, similar to how the Hall of Fame partnership and its in-game implementation will take on its own organic path, very similar, something like Drive for the Pennant. But the goal is really for people who want to experience it, right? I don't want to pigeonhole into new people or people who played it in the past but it was too much for them, or whatever. The goal is to have a new fun way to play Out of the Park Baseball, to have it be a lot more like a roller coaster ride than a methodical advancement of the season every single day. That's the goal. That's the plan, and it'll be hitting out of the park baseball. A few weeks after launch, probably right around the time of the real regular season, but could be a little longer. We're still putting the finishing touches on that. So that's my long-winded explanation of what Drive for the Pennant, is going to be.
And that is blowing my mind because I mean, Rich, this isn't a game that just comes out every 8 years or so. Like you wait for a sequel and it comes out down the line. Like, yes, we're working on another one and it'll come someday. It's like, okay, no, this is a game that's now a yearly game that's been out for a quarter of a century. And then, oh yeah, by the way, we're not selling this game to you based upon this. This is a part of the game that we're going to bring to you as you are playing the game a few weeks in, whatever the timeline is, how you play it. And it just blows my mind that the team is going to do this to support the community and find a way to engage everybody who's playing in a different way. That by the way, we talk about greatest hits. Out of the park baseball is already a mammoth hit. It's hitting a home run with what people want. And then it's giving people another way, whether you're new or you've been playing this like I have for 20 years, no matter how you do it, you're going to find something new and engaging with this. It just, again, kudos, because I can't wait to see this. And before this interview, I had a list of all the things I was most excited about. In some way, somehow, this just trumped them all. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. And look, we know that not everybody wants this. And we know that the people who are, probably the most dedicated, hardcore out of the park baseball fans are going to be like, why would I want this? Like, that's taking stuff away from me that I want to manage. That's not what this is about. It's really about, my goal is to have it be appealing to everybody. But in particular, I look at people who just might look at out of the park baseball and be like, this is too much for me. I've got a life, I've got a job, I have a wife, I have children, I have pets, I've got stuff to do, right? Like, not everybody is willing to, or wants to, or is practical to find every nook and cranny of out of the park baseball. But we know one thing, right? We're fans of baseball, we're fans of sports. A season is a roller coaster ride. And if you're a Mets fan like me, a lot of the times those roller coaster rides end badly. But man, there's a way that we can truly bottle the ups and the downs and the big moments of a season in a short but fun way, right? And we're not taking anything away. Like, you still got everything you can do, right? So the people who are like, that's not for me, don't worry. There's nothing that's coming out, or nothing is getting altered to anything else. It's really just about, how do we appeal to the most possible people? And so giving people a new way to play the game and to experience out of the park baseball that might pique their interest in, all right, well, I don't know where this guy came from, but he just showed up on my team and I like him. So I'm interested in how that got there. Oh, he's from the Dominican Republic. Well, I should probably, after the end of the season, when I have the option to turn this into a full-blown franchise, I want to make sure I go to my international scouting and find that guy who's scouting for me in the Dominican Republic and say, nice job. I'm going to bump up your funds a little bit more because you delivered somebody really good for me next year. And hopefully it opens their eyes. Hopefully, in addition to just being fun and being something that isn't you'll be able to play over the course of a few hours, it also opens you up to other aspects of the bigger game that you will then want to take advantage of and have fun doing later on.
Okay. You've dropped a lot on us today. I've got to ask, is there one final piece, any teaser you can give to us before we let you go on this road to release? I mean, as if there hasn't been already enough hype about this game and what we can expect from it. Can you give us just one last little teaser?
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not.
Oh, I love it when a sentence started like this. Please, yes.
So one of the things that I got a real kick out of this year is that somehow a company or a business unit that's headed by a fellow who's German, for whom English is not his first language, who Marcus, by the way, does speak amazing English and better than me at times. But the bulk of the team is in Europe, and somehow we have invented a new word, and that word is combinator. And when people realize what the combinator is and how it works and what it does, I think they're going to freak out in a really good way. I probably already said too much, but I'm sticking with that.
Can I press you and just ask you in what aspect of the game the combinator is going to blow people's mind? I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you, Rich. Could you say that one more time?
It's in Perfect Team.
Okay.
Which, by the way, one of the reasons I have so much fun in Perfect Team is because I don't have to assign my international scouts and my finances and my budgets and stuff like that. So I got to work on that part too.
I love it. Rich, thank you. You've given us so much. This team has given us so much. We cannot wait. The road to release has just gotten a couple nice little extra goodies on the way. We cannot wait for this game to release and all these things, whether it's right at launch or during this season, the 25th season of Out of the Park Baseball. We cannot wait, my friend. It is going to be a fun ride.
I can't wait. And again, I just want to say to you personally, thank you to all of our streamer affiliates. Thank you to everyone watching. Thank you to everyone in the forums. Thank you to everyone in the Discord. Thank you. Our friends at Major League Baseball. Thank you. Our friends at Major League Baseball Players Association. Thank you. This is truly a community-driven game, and we have nothing without the community. But with the community, we have our 25th anniversary version Out of the Park Baseball. So thank you, everybody. More than anything, you guys make this happen. And so I'm thankful and I'm grateful. And on behalf of everybody Out of the Park, we appreciate the best community in games so very much. Thank you.
As the guy said in, the Hair Club for Men, I'm not only the president, I'm also a client. I would like to say I'm not only a streamer, but also a player of this game. So on behalf of all the players out there, the people who play this game, thank you. Out of the Park Developments, you are knocking it out of the park again. Again, the road to release continues. Pre-orders up now, 30% off. And of course, there's the bonus Perfect Team content as well. And you can get the game 3 days before release, March 15th, earliest ever Out of the Park Baseball has ever come out.